Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TED Talk. Player break is officially over, meaning we are ready to jump right into the interviews. Hope all of you had the opportunity to touch some grass, spend some time with your family, and now we're here to talk Counter-Strike. And we're here to talk Counter-Strike with someone that has been playing Counter-Strike for quite a while. So we're gonna have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to discuss, and thankfully, this one man. I say thankfully. Thankfully for me, unfortunately, he's got a little bit of free time on his hands right now, so we can have that conversation. But I am really glad to welcome Mr. Martin STYKO himself, a well-seasoned veteran in professional Counter-Strike. Thank you for joining me. How have you been?
Thank you
How's life been lately?
thank you for having me. It's been good. Enjoying, as you said, quite a lot of free time lately because being off team is not always nice, but it's good for my mental, I feel like. So it's good to touch some grass myself.
Yeah, also you're going through a bit of a transition, right? We're gonna talk about that a little bit later, but now you've become an IGL, so it's a new chapter in your career, and you're getting some time, to be fully refreshed, and then when you go into your next project to be on 100%. But now we're not gonna start off by speaking about that. We're gonna start off by speaking about the early stages of your career, and this is something that I'm particularly interested in because obviously you did grow up in the Slovakian scene, and you have played a lot of Counter Strike in the Czech-Slovakian types of Counter Strike. But I'm not gonna ask you how you got into CS because you've probably answered that question a million times already in your career. What was it like growing up in this scene though as a professional player? Was it as developed? Did you feel like you were getting a lot of support? Basically, talk me through the early stages of your professional career and how you got into play on a higher level.
Yeah, so back in the days, we had two scenes, and they were essentially all bundled up together. So
Okay.
Czechoslovakian scene was basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We all understand each other with the language, and every tournament was pretty much like community based for both republics.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, if you ask me how it was to be a professional player in Czechoslovakia, there's no answer to that because,
Okay.
well, we simply had no professional players back then. No one was salaried. There were no orgs that pay up the salary. So all we were kind of doing, we were participating in tournaments, whether it would be online tournaments or some local LAN tournaments, and obviously then FPL also came, which quite a few players from our region managed to go through. So that was our main source of income, pretty much, until you get picked up by an actual professional team from somewhere abroad. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it kind of was. It was the time where we were kind of dominating the whole scene with my team back in the day. We were playing under a couple of different tags and with various lineups. It was like the core was always the same, but we were kind of like stomping everyone around, and it was not very professional at all.
Sure.
And then the FPL came, and from there we could actually we got exposed to like international teams, and then we went to play there with Oscar.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because one of the first teams that is listed as you as a professional player is that Fraternitas lineup.
Fraternitas, yeah.
Fraternitas, yes. I actually forgot. Yeah, I can pronounce those as a proper Bulgarian, and it's gonna sound a little bit similar. Slavic languages is great. But yeah, you played with Oscar and Zero on that team. How was that
Mhm.
experience at the beginning? Because obviously, as you said, it was really difficult for that region to financially back yourselves. So, were you all going through the same struggles with being able to kind of justify in front of yourself and maybe some of your close ones, the people around you, family and friends and whatnot, the fact that you are dedicating pretty much your teenage years and early 20s to that dream of becoming a professional player and something that is yet to actually be developed in a proper way in your region?
So, I mean, looking at it that way, as I said, we were not professionals, not full-time players, right? It was our
Right.
first organization, but we were
Mm-hmm.
still going to school, we were still working, etc., etc. So we were just basically repping that clan tag for the tournaments when we traveled or we occasionally played some HLTV games, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's about it, and it was nothing serious. We did get some financial compensation on the paper. It was a Czech organization, but some salaries never even arrived, and I guess we were kind of expecting it, that it's not going to be, like a professional organization, that it gets paid instantly. Sometimes we even won a tournament, and then that prize money went to organization, which was never again shared with us. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, we were getting scammed back then. And when I spoke up about it, I was like 16 or 17 or maybe 18. I don't know. I was like really young and I had no clue. And when I spoke up about it, like about the CEO back then, or like the owner of that team, he was instantly threatening me, like he will take me to court, etc., etc. So it was a very fun time. It was like a mafia going on in the
Right.
scene, and I was just laughing it off because I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like this is no chance. We're playing a video game. You're not paying us, and I'm not even complaining about it because I expected it,
Mm.
but this is how it went, and we played a couple of tournaments, got scammed a couple of times, and that's how life was back then.
Is that when you decided that it's time for you to go and play international Counter Strike? Because you didn't stick for too long with domestic teams. How was that decision to make?
Yeah, I think it was very easy then. If you get an actual contract in your
Mm,
email that is like checked by lawyers, for example, and it actually looks proper. It was by no means like a professional like tier 1 contract back in the
sure.
day, but compared to what I have right now, but it's definitely like pushing you out of the local scene if you're getting like mm, treated like a third bag pretty much all the time whenever you represent an organization. I mean, kudos to those who treated me right, but you know, it was rare, and that's why international scene was always kind of like, this is probably a way to go.
Now, I don't want to get stuck in that limbo of negative talk for too long, so I will turn a page and I will hope it's a brighter one. Now, you let me know. Obviously, you are someone that pays attention a lot to young talents and the development of young players all across the scene, right? So I am really interested to hear if that is the case as well when it comes down to your region. Do you think that the Slovakian region has developed in a good way? Is there some particular teams, young players that you are looking onto and you know they could make it big? And do you feel like maybe the scene has developed in a way that is going to be a little bit easier for young talents to develop within it?
I think we're definitely lacking like a structure of proper academy teams or even the teams itself, like a professional teams, because sometimes we do have a local team with the Slovakian player, and then we eventually turn to some Czech players, and then we make it a mix, and then eventually we go international, like Eklod did, or Sinners plan to do. I feel like so. It's kind of rough, but I definitely say that it's going forward. I see more sponsorships being handed around. Even the tournaments in Prague or in Slovakia, they leveled it up a notch. It's still like very basic in terms of international when I look at Europe, but it's happening, and I see the big names starting to sponsor actual tournaments, and it's not such a taboo topic as gaming was, let's say, 5 to 10 years ago. So it's heading into the right direction. Is it enough? Hard to say, but I feel like we are where a lot of other tier 1 countries of CS, I would say, Scandinavians and French
Yeah.
and German, they were there like 10 years ago. So we are definitely low and behind, but there are talents which can easily go into Europe and gather some experience there. So I have some names in my mind that would be interesting.
Okay. Care to share some of them, or you're saving them for some YouTube videos?
No, it's fine. I can share them, but
Okay.
um, I when I was creating my last team, Inner Circle, I reached out to Peppo as an oper, and he eventually decided to go a different way. He signed with Sinners, and I think he is probably one of the brightest guys right now when it comes to purely Slovakian. For Czech Republic, there might be more. It's hard to say, but skill wise, you can just look at Faceit and check any top 10 for that country, and they're going to be good players. They're going to be individually even better than me. But then the real test comes how they talk, how they behave, how do they just think about Counter Strike, and all the things to me is intangible. And I cannot like commend someone without knowing these things. So I know Peppo, he thinks good about Counter Strike, so I'm going to mention him as a highlight name for this region.
Okay, and I have a fun one for you now. If it was up to you and you had all the power in the world and there was no conditions and there was no exterior factors, what would be the one thing that you would change in the Slovakian or maybe Czechoslovakian scene if you want to take it up a notch right now? If you just could, snap your fingers and that thing changes for the better.
That's a pretty good one. I would wish that players would actually solve problem in front of the team compared to behind the team. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's still a lot of I don't have vocabulary for this, but I feel like backstabbing slash like talking bad about someone without not in front of them, you know.
Okay.
So it's like people are so afraid of direct communication, and I feel like it's just the curse of this mentality that we have in Slovakia, that we want to avoid confrontation at all cost because it's so uncomfortable and we don't know how to deal with it. And I feel like it's happening in a lot of teams, and it's costing a lot of teams, you know, good progress.
Isn't that a more global problem though? And would you
Might
say
be.
that this could be a more of a generational thing even? I guess we don't want to go into making this podcast being a psychological one, right? We don't want to talk about how social media or whatever implies on it or affects it. But isn't that something that a lot of teams are struggling with, even in the tier two space outside of the Czech and the Slovakian scene? And if you could come up with a solution, or if you have thought about it, which it seems like you have, how do you think this helps? Let's say obviously the easy answer is we just tell them to go and be open about their issues, right? And what they don't like. But if there is a group of guys that have just not been used to doing that and communicating properly, how do you make those guys come out of their shell pretty much?
I actually think it's not a global problem to some extent because, for example, I've played with a lot of international players,
Hmm.
and when I played with, for example, Danish or Norwegian players, they were extremely open
Okay.
in my experience. So obviously, I can't put them all in one basket, but I feel like their people are more keen to open up like that. And
Hmm.
the advice that I would have for example, CIS teams, they would rarely do that. You know, the whole atmosphere and dynamics of the team is super different to Western Europe, for example.
Okay.
So if I would have like one advice, I would say that just every difficult conversation pushes you more than you think. And I've heard that a long time ago. I learned it. I should have learned it earlier, but I learned it the hard way, and it was good progress in my career usually when I had that advice like that.
Okay. Now we're gonna go into your time on HellRaisers, which was probably the first really really serious project that you were part of, and maybe the first bigger team that a lot of people associate you with. This is definitely the big project that I associate you with. But uh, were you initially when you joined that project? Because you throughout your career have always been a guy that sacrifices a lot for the team. You've been a support player for I don't know how long, and now you're turning the other cheek and becoming an in-game leader. So you're doing all the heavy lifting pretty much. But initially, when you joined HellRaisers and when you took that big step, was there a little daredevil on your shoulder saying maybe I am a young player, maybe I should be a star player, or did you initially want to be a more supportive element from the get go and just learn from the more experienced guys and contribute to the team?
You know, the roles itself kind of fell into the place for me. Even in Czechoslovakian scene, I feel like I wasn't a star player. Like,
Okay.
sure, I could have. There were periods where we could have won a LAN where I just swing and kill, and literally I can rinse and repeat that and win a tournament for us, right? Because it was just not big of a competition. But
Mm-hmm.
once you go into tier one, you obviously want to leave space for those more experienced guys, and then you kind of like fill in to make them comfortable, and you naturally learn and passively like kind of absorb their information of how they play CS. That is also why Hellraiser's deal was I was there for quite some time, and
Yeah.
I think that's the reason that I was so flexible and adaptable and so
Okay.
easy to work with. All these kind of things kind of melted, and also I was kind of like shy and introverted. All these kind of things melted into me being in this role, and I was very it was very fun for me. It was very pleasant for my teammates to work with me that way. So, you know, personality wise, I feel like I was a support all along, and I just kind of found it easy to slot in.
That's really interesting because right before we started this interview, you told me that you actually played tennis for a couple years, right? Which
Yeah,
is a solo sport. So the
yeah.
the logical the logical I guess expectation would be for you to be much more of a solo player when you go into a team game and look after your statistics a little bit more, look after your individual performance a little bit more. Have you actually thought about this? How come you enjoy a solo sport and then in the same time the moment you join a team game you are the guy that is ready to sacrifice himself and you're just thinking about the win of the team and you're not really thinking about your personal benefits?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think the tennis part came from I liked solo games because of the solitude, not because of the
Right.
single player nature of it, you know? Like
Okay.
I don't have to share anything with anyone. I could just be myself, and that's about it. So I think that that's the parallel I'm looking for
Mhm.
because otherwise I don't have other explanation. I haven't thought about it actually.
Okay. Yeah, I just find it really interesting. Then there is another thing that I want to talk about with HellRaisers, because obviously, as you said, you spent 2 years on that team, and you changed a lot of different teammates. But one person that did stuck around for a lot of the time, and one of the people that was a really well known and respected name back in the day, and obviously now doesn't play Counter Strike anymore. Sadly, spent a couple years in Valorant, was quite successful there as well. But we're not talking about the V game right now. It's a forbidden topic on this channel. Was Angel, and he was a really respected in-game leader back in the day. So talk to me a little bit about playing with him. I am really interested in hearing a little bit about it. Was he really as great as an in-game leader as a lot of us remember him to be, or is that a little bit of bias to a name that was really familiar from the back in the days? Because I remember when I started watching Counter Strike for the first time, this was when Angel was at his peak. He was a really good in-game leader, and a lot of people were saying that he's a great tactician, that he's really good at managing teams. So how was that about?
Yeah, I think I got really lucky with me being in my first pro team, and right from the get-go, I got an IGL that was a true captain, because
Mm,
then it kind of wasn't happening. I wasn't part of the team where we had true IGL or a true captain for a long time. We will get to it later,
yeah,
but Angel was one, and it was immediately he took control over the room. He could take over the situation in the team. He was, as you said, managing like parts of the team really well. He was vocal. He obviously had to start calling in English, which was uncomfortable period of time, I assume, for him.
sure,
And this was one of probably his his few weaknesses, where sometimes it sometimes he wasn't great communicator. Like he couldn't really convey his ideas fast enough, or it wasn't clear to me why we're doing or what we're doing. And I I learned a lot from him, but at the same time, I feel like I didn't squeeze it enough, you know? I should have asked him more questions and kind of initiate the whole talks, but I was so young and I was just, to me, it was enough what I was learning. But now I would do it a little bit differently, and I would ask even more questions, be that annoying little guy, you know,
mm,
on his shoulder, and try to get as much information about his thought processes inside of the game as possible. And plus on that side, he was also insane fragger, so he was
yeah.
playing individually very well, and naturally, that was like that was like his signature, I would say, performance. And then he transitioned it into Valorant as well, where I feel like he was very strong IGL, even though I didn't watch it that much.
Yeah, I mean, understandable. We are Counter Strike people, and there is a personal vendetta with the other game, which we shall
Yeah.
not name from here on out. There is another person that you did play with later on, and you got reunited, but you played on HellRaisers. You started your career on Fraternitas, and you did play on MOUZ, and now you played on Inner Circle as well with just a couple months ago, and that is Oscar. And he is one of the people that I wanted to ask you about as well. Your partnership with him, because you've played together on multiple teams. It's obvious for people that you like playing with each other at this point. So talk to me a little bit about that. Do you feel like, and this is a fun one, because I think a lot of people nowadays don't realize how much of a genius oper Oscar used to be, and how difficult it is to actually be an oper on this level and still be playing, let's say, tier 2, tier 3 Counter Strike that many years after his peak, and still be performing well when he's 34 years old. So yeah, describe Oscar to me a little bit. What's your connection with him? Do you feel like he's maybe one of the most underappreciated opers maybe ever in CS:GO?
It's pretty funny because when CS 1.6 died, and in our region he was one of the best players, right?
Yeah.
Then CS:GO came, and we were like, yeah, Oscar is never gonna be nowhere near that good, right? And
Right.
then he randomly started playing it out of nowhere, because he had a job, I think, back then. He
Okay.
started playing it a couple of just few hours, and he was immediately like a godlike oper, or like a rifler, I think, back in the day. And then he transitioned into op, and then he was just like a natural talent. Like he could almost not play the game. He would have more hours played in like PUBG or something,
Mm-hmm.
and he would still own people completely. Like he doesn't need to that much. He doesn't need to play.
Right.
He probably watches games here and there, but it's just natural for him, right? So that's one of the thing. And most underappreciated, which you mentioned, I think he's definitely underappreciated. Like he's doing a lot for the team. He can solo carry the games. In CS:GO, he definitely could have solo carried the tournaments in a lot of cases. In CS2, it's a little bit tougher for him. And generally I enjoyed playing with him because he could get us out of so much trouble single-handedly without pulling too many resources that it was insane. But obviously, every player has pros and cons.
Mm,
I feel like he would be insanely better or like tenfold better in a Czechoslovakian team in general because I feel like playing in an international team or English-speaking team is kind of hindering his ability to talk and his ideas, not necessarily
mm,
inside of the round on the actual server, but when there are problems between the players, he has obviously certain vision, and he would like to for that vision to he would love to share it with others. But
sure.
he's not the guy that if he's not comfortable in English or talking about certain topic, he's not gonna say much.
Okay.
But whenever we had like one-on-one talks, when I was his chill now in the inner circle, he had a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Hmm.
But he only opened up in front of me in our native language, where now I realize that could have been like hindering his whole career, even though it is a great career and he's still
Yeah.
playing. But
It's a crazy
but
thing to say
I now
considering he was a top 20 player.
yeah, no, multiple times I feel like,
Yeah.
and he won MVPs as well. But now I wonder what would have been if he was part of a Czechoslovakian team. And I think on Sinners he was really pushing them forward,
Mm.
maybe even making them overperform a little bit at a certain tournaments or stages of that team. But yeah, that's about Oscar. I think he's a great guy. He's a weird guy, but a great guy.
Yeah, I've heard stories by the way that he actually is because he doesn't look like the funniest guy in the room, but I've heard the stories about him being an absolute joker and
He's a very funny guy.
being
It's
really
a
eccentric.
Yeah. He's a very funny guy. As I said, when he opens up, it's really, really hard not to laugh around him.
Mm,
'Cause he has like this dry kind of a humor, which
right.
isn't for everyone, but
Yeah.
I personally like it. So he's always there to cheer up, but also, um, it's not like he's goofing around and trolling. It's like he's an adult. He
Yeah.
has his own age and he knows how to behave. So that's good.
I think there is a bit of a tangent that we're going to go on before we go back to MOUZ and talk a little bit about that because there's a couple of things that I want to discuss. But when we're talking about Oscar, we can talk about longevity of one's career. You yourself have spent a lot of time on YouTube as well explaining that you think the reason for a lot of people to be fallen off with age is the fact that you've got other stuff going on in your life, and it is difficult to keep and sustain the same amount of, I guess, focus and dedication over a long period of time, over let's say 10 plus years. So what makes Oscar an exception to be able to play as an oper, not an in-game leader, let's say at 34, 35? And what do you think the recipe is for that? Do you feel like we are getting to a point where people are studying that a little bit more, and we're going to see more of those cases of players going through, let's say, a second spring or a second life of their career later on?
I have no clue how to answer that question specifically for Oscar because I don't know how he does it. He created a family. He has, hobbies outside of CS, and he is not spending too much time in CS as compared to me, for example,
Mm,
and he's still like very, very sick when it comes to in-game performance. So I'm not sure. Like people usually when they stop playing and they have other priorities in life, and obviously then motivation will drop, and then the slower day by day you will spend less and less time in
yeah,
CS, and then eventually you become a burden for your team. But for Oscar, it was he still has a statistical output that a lot of operas would love to have.
mm,
So it's weird for me from that side. For Oscar, I don't have the answer. For myself, I can definitely feel it myself because um, obviously when I have a team, it's my priority number one, and I don't do anything else than making that team better in some
sure,
way, either playing individually or creating something for the team or having a talks. Basically, that's my team is my life when I'm signed on the team. But when I don't, I find myself, for example, right now, I find myself like having like like 5 or 6 different kind of avenues where I can go and I can like live my life differently outside of esports as well, which is actually nice for me because I always have this empty like a safety net, like a back
sure.
door kind of way. But at the same time, I would still prioritize having a team. I would still love to have that, right? So it's a weird limbo for me because whatever is happening, I'm happy. about
Mm.
it, you know. So it's nice to have this kind of a problem, but at the same time I don't know how to feel about it, because then I actually feel like motivation for my CS could drop because I don't need it anymore, right? Like
Yeah,
some people are, and it's not a career anymore.
sure.
It's like a it's like something that I've
It's a
already
passion.
kind of yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a weird limbo for me, but this is what I chose, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. But as I said, having a team and playing, representing an organization, being in daily practice with the rest of the team is something that I cannot scratch that itch with anything else right now.
Yeah, this is I think this is a good thing, to be fair, because as you said, when you don't need it, this is when you actually see if you love something, right? If you
Mm.
are just playing until you earn a specific amount of cash or you qualify for a couple majors and then your life is set and then your motivation drops and you're like, well, I want to go and do hiking or do swimming or whatever. Uh, it probably means that you didn't really love the game as much as some other people that are still playing even after they've achieved something. And maybe this is how you achieve greatness, right? People like, I don't know, Apeks right now is having the best time of his life and the best period of his career. And look at how long he's been playing Counter Strike for as well. With that being said, though, we're gonna go into MOUZ a little bit. Obviously, MOUZ is the big one in your CV as a professional Counter Strike player, and for a lot of people that have been watching CS for more than 6-7 years, they remember you from the MOUZ time. Now, one of the things that I'm really interested in, there's two main things that I want to talk about because again, you've done plenty of content over the years and you've discussed a lot of the stuff. But the one thing I am really curious about, because you already mentioned that, is that after Angel, you really struggle to find a proper leader to play with on a lot of your teams. And MOUZ was probably a similar case scenario where at some point people didn't really know who was IGLing. Is it Chris J? Is it someone else? You didn't really have that one defined person to be the in-game leader and be the leader of the team. So how was that from your perspective?
So yeah, in most sports, it was way different compared to HellRaisers, and I will explain how. Basically, Chris J was not like a born captain or born IGL,
Mm-hmm.
but he was very good at it. But it was mostly like I would say our coach was an IGL, right, and a
Okay.
captain of the team. And then through Chris J was like a mediator of everything that coach couldn't talk during the game, right? So they were spending a lot of time together and explaining a lot of ideas. And then Chris J was the one responsible for everything inside of the game. If something goes bad, well, we took a pause and coach could adjust it. If it went bad after a tournament or a match, they could talk and fix it for the future. But Chris J was not like an angel, I would say.
Sure.
But I I do think I learned some valuable lessons from him, and
Mm-hmm.
especially the one how it's important to IGL and coach combo has to communicate pretty much all the time. It has to be them spending a lot of time together, like bolstering this vision of how to play CS to be on the same page, and then present it in front of the team. That's how it is done mostly right now in Tier 1 Counter-Strike, and we were doing that in MOUZ back then as well. Sunny was obviously helping a lot as well with his ideas.
Okay.
He had a great vision for CS. But me and ropz, we were kind of like passive kind of soldiers. And then
Mm.
Oscar, he had his days where he was a soldier. He had his days where he was very vocal as well. But Sunny was helping the most out of all other players.
Which is a fun thing to say, actually, because he is the Finn, right? He is the person that
Yeah,
a lot of people would assume would be the quiet one. And now I'm going to shoot straight with a really direct question. Did you think that ropz was cheating before you picked him up?
definitely not. No, 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 no.
No?
And
Okay.
I was actually, so this is a funny story, but ropz replaced Nico on mouse sports in
Mm-hmm.
February. I don't know which year exactly it was, but he was the one replacing Nico. And originally, like before they were interested in ropz, they wanted to pick me, but I from HellRaisers, but I declined that because we qualified for like a string of an events with HellRaisers. We had a really good period,
Okay.
and I declined that. Eventually, we finished that season, and then during the summer, I joined Mouse Sports as well, together with who was it? Was it Sunny?
I think
I think
Sunny.
it was with
I
Sunny.
think it was with
Yeah, I think
Sunny.
it was Sunny.
Yeah.
So ropz went there a little bit before, so I wasn't part of the negotiation when
Yeah.
he joined the team, but I didn't think he was cheating. I back then I wasn't playing FPL that much anymore, so I didn't really
Sure.
meet him, in the games. But I no, I didn't think he was.
Okay, and how was it playing with him in the early stages of his career? Because obviously, for a lot of people now everyone's talking about the fact that he's got 2 Grand Slams, he's got the majors, and he's part of Vitality, and he's definitely one of the best players in the world. But even back in the day, he was a phenomenon because he just
Yeah.
went into MOUZ from FPL. No one does that. No one goes from Face It into, well, obviously FPL back in the day was a lot more prestigious than it is nowadays, and it was a different thing, right? But still, he did go from FPL into MOUZ and play tier 1 Counter-Strike, and he did look really good at it. So what was it obvious when you were playing in the server with him that this guy would be around to become one of the greatest players in Counter-Strike? Did it feel like he had that special I guess magical powder within himself?
I don't know. It felt like we definitely got someone who is learning and doing a lot of like work behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
He was very structured already back then. Like when he was super young, he had his personal strat book that we as pro players didn't have. He had it already. He was not even part of any pro team before, so he had stuff like that. But he was also introverted. Coming from Estonia, he bonded really well with Sunny, which is like like Baltics slash Scandinavian thing, and they immediately like hit it off together.
Right.
Um, then what else? He was like absorbing a lot of information. It felt like we were playing with a sponge, and whenever he did a
Mm.
mistake, we showed him he did a mistake and he would never do that mistake again.
Okay.
It was like very exponential curve of improvement compared to a linear one, which you usually see in a pro team like that. And you also have like a roller coaster, you
Mm.
have ups and downs, but it felt like every game he was a stronger and stronger player, and the way he was able to absorb information was very admirable, and super easy to work with as well. This is how I remember him. It's just fractions
Yeah.
of that period, but he was a very nice guy. And whenever I even personally talk to him right now, we didn't play for a lot of years together. Whenever I hit him up on Instagram with a question about the team or anything, he would immediately reply to me, and it's always nice guy. I don't know, um, just a pleasure to work with, probably.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Then after MOUZ, and this is one that obviously things didn't work for a longer period of time. There was a weird period where, as you said, the in-game leading situation, and you had to leave. You went through Cloud9, which I don't really want to speak about. I think it was a
Yeah, okay.
really, yeah, it was a really weird project. Oh, actually, you know what? You know what? Tell me as well, and be honest about it. Did that Cloud9 project for you felt like it could make sense and actually work? Or was it just, I don't know how the hell I got here, but I guess I'll stay for a couple months?
So I was there just on loan, kind of, for a
Yeah.
couple of months, and uh, you know, it kind of I went there and I was very excited because they were defending champion
Yeah,
of the
the
major,
E-League
right?
major in Boston in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But when I came, like during that 2 months period when I was there, it was everything was very rushed,
Mm,
and it was kind of off. And during that period, also another guy decided to leave,
yeah.
and it was like kind of very turbulent part of the. I felt like I was joining very disjointed team,
Right.
and they were, as I was there, I wasn't really providing a fix
Hmm.
because I was there just as a just for 2 months, and they didn't know if I'm gonna continue long term. I didn't know, so it was like
Sure.
very hard to fix something for the future.
Hmm.
And then when I went away, it was hard. They decided to give it a try for this Colossus
Yeah.
um, project, and I was actually invited, I think, at some point to go there, but the deal fell through. But that was a little bit later on when I was in Godsend.
Right. Yeah, that was a weird moment for Cloud9. For the people that don't remember, we're just gonna do a quick revamp. That was around the time when they won the majors. Kadudo decided that he doesn't want to play anymore. Tarek decided that he wants to go and play in
Go to
Brazil with
SK.
Stewie.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a really weird moment and a really sad one for North American Counter Strike. We got to the point where Flusher was playing in Cloud9, and I guess why not, and Golden as well. So that was a fun time, and that happened. But yeah, after that you went through what I think a lot of people thought was maybe I guess the dawn of your career in a way between 2019 and 2022 was a bit of a tough period, right? You went from team to team. You played on No Chance, you played on Smash, you played on Godsend. Fun plus Phoenix towards the end was actually, I'd say, maybe the best one out of all of them. It was really a really solid project that didn't really play a lot of officials at the time, but when you did play, you were really good. So talk to me. We're gonna summarize all of this, and I'm gonna ask you this: did you feel like this was probably the three hardest years of your career, and do you feel like they were redefining in a way for you as a person and you as a player?
I think redefining for sure. The hardest, I wouldn't say so. Maybe it was quite, the thing. It was a COVID time during whole this thing,
Yeah.
so it was like we were stuck at home and everyone was just playing Counter Strike, and it was whole like weird thing going on in a space of gaming. You said that I was hopping from team to team, but in reality, like the core of the team was always the same. We were always the same team. We were just switching
Okay.
organizations.
Yeah.
First of all, we were No Chance, which is like we had no organization for half a year.
Mm.
Then we had first offer, which was from Smash, which was like entering the Counter Strike scene, and we decided, okay, we will join you for 2 months as a trial, and then we decide if we actually want to sign long term or not. And after these 2 months, they wanted to sign with us long term, but we didn't want to do it
Okay.
because in the meantime, we got an offer from Godsend to join them, right? So we went to Godsend, and then we went there for I think full year or something, and then we were sold to FPX. But overall, the gist of the core of the team was
Right.
always the same. So I was like fuck this, I'm gonna join another team, etc., etc. But we were kind of like growing together. We found a couple of good players on the way, which we scouted ourselves. We had some good runs in a tournaments. Unfortunately, they were online, but also we won a LAN in Ukraine as well.
I
So
think didn't you
it
play
was
Flashpoint? I think Flashpoint was one that you participated in, or am I
uh,
am I thinking this one
we
wrong?
it, it was the one in America. We didn't participate there.
Okay.
It was the drama with Katie and everyone where they wanted to sign Heroic, I think, as
Yeah.
in FPX. I'm not sure about that, but then the deal fell through eventually, and then
Okay.
we joined. But also our deal could have gone through, fell through because, um, as I said, I had an offer from Cloud9 for
Mm-hmm.
this Colossus, and if I accepted that, like FPX wouldn't want the core of Godsend without me.
Right.
So I could have jeopardized the whole deal, and I decided not to do it. And then we went to FPX. But yeah, it was redefining. I tried different roles. I tried a lot of different players. We were building from the ground up. Sometimes we didn't have a coach. Sometimes we didn't have a manager. Sometimes we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anyone. We were just kind of group of friends stuck in the COVID, couldn't do anything, so we just played CS. We studied, we played, we studied, we played, and this is how it went. We almost made it. We actually made it to the Rio Major, but it
Yeah.
got cancelled. And yeah, after FPX, people kind of got picked up to different teams, and that's how it ended.
We're gonna keep it going with Apeks, and we're not gonna talk about in detail what you guys were able to achieve. You reached major playoffs. You did a lot of good stuff with Apeks. What I will ask you though is a really specific question that I want to pick your brains on. Do you have any regrets about what happened with Apeks towards the end, especially? And do you feel like you guys could have done something more with some of the different iterations, and you could have achieved more essentially?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was period of 2 years, so definitely there are some regrets. We did a lot of mistakes in those 2 years. First of all, I would say that um, I think we learned it the hard way that picking up players based on their past achievements without the trial is not the best idea. I
Mm-hmm.
want to avoid that at all costs in the future, and in Apex we always then after that did a trial, which actually scouted for us incredible IGL in kyxsan,
Mm.
and when I look at the regrets, I don't know, some decisions of the organizations. I obviously cannot see like behind the scenes and the deals that they are making through, but sometimes I wish I was consulted more, like my voice could be heard more, um, in terms of who do we sign or who do we play with in general.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was a business decision after business decision, and players were consulted, but I think like our opinion was too much, taken into consideration. That's just my personal feeling. I also didn't like, this is very specific, but I didn't
Okay.
like that the manager of our team was like partly owning Apeks. So it was not like a objective connection between the management
Right.
and the rest of the team. It's also something I would love to like avoid in the future. So manager has actually like the interest of players as a
Yeah.
priority instead of org.
Hmm.
So that's another thing. It's all minor. Like all you might be like people watching this might be laughing right now. Like what the hell is this? But it actually creates such a weird dynamic in a team where sometimes you're stuck in an unsolvable situation. And I think we've had quite a few of those in Apex.
Okay. Okay. That's a really interesting answer. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. And we're going to end Apex on a positive note as well, because you mentioned kyxsan's name. This is the other person that I wanted to talk a little bit about. This and he is someone that's been on this channel already twice. And someone that I rate really highly as an in-game leader as well. I think he's excellent. But talk to me a little bit about the trial. What was your first impression of him, and how was playing as an in-game lead, or playing with an in-game leader like him in the early stages of his international career as a captain?
The trial was actually a pretty funny thing because we've had 4 candidates that we wanted to trial. For each
Okay.
candidate, we wanted to give them 3 days to take over our team completely. Okay, let's say we tell them which 2 maps we wanted during these 3 days to focus on. They pick the maps and they lead completely everything, starting from theory to in-game leading and then reviewing everything. Like those 3 days, they have a full potential to show their qualities.
Mm.
And
So you
there
can
were,
evaluate on the strong and weak sides of each of them, I'm
yeah,
guessing. Yeah.
exactly. And we wanted to give the 3 days to every single one of them, no matter what is happening. And kyxsan, I believe he was like a second or third candidate. And after the day 1 of him, we immediately said, we want this guy, don't stop trials with everyone else. And out of respect, we didn't stop those trials. And those 2 IGLs, I believe, they came later, and we did trials with them as well. But I could feel, and myself included, I'm guilty of this, that we we didn't give it our 100% anymore because we, in our minds, we already wanted kyxsan,
Okay.
right? Which sounds screwed up
Yeah.
because we kind of pushed them aside without them like.
Yeah. Probably would have been better to tell them, guys, we've already
Uh,
picked someone. Let's cancel.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was weird, but again, org like insisted on giving the
Yeah.
trial period to every, because you might have found a better one.
Mm.
Because we
Yeah.
were kind of frankly, we were already happy with the first trial with the first player, and
Can we
then
spill some names here, or you
no,
rather?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think I can. I
Okay.
mean, it
Okay.
was a long time ago, but there were also trials which didn't went that great, and I
Right.
wouldn't like to like
Okay. Yeah.
spoil their in the future, in the probably
Unless they're
future.
already
But
retired. If the player is retired, we can say. If they're not, we should leave it out.
yeah, we actually, one guy is retired, Gate from
Oh, from
Denmark.
North.
He
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, he was at a part of the career where he was like, okay, I'm gonna try IGLing. He was trialing for us, but then we didn't pick him up, and like a month later he retired.
All
So
right.
I guess we were like last Mary
Mm.
play for him. But others are still playing, so I don't want to mention those names. But
Okay.
kyxsan was very good, and he is to this day one of my most, I would say, like icon of IGL. Like if I would be an IGL, he is the one I'm following. Like what he was doing, how he
Okay.
was playing, thinking. Oh, sure, he had his bad sides as well, and I don't want to go into them a little bit, but um, I liked his vision, how he thinks about the game and the IGL role in general, what he feels like he needs to do for a team, what he at the same time sometimes needs to take matters into his own hands. I'm really happy he's in a good team with Nico, Monte, and
Yeah.
other guys. I think he fully deserves it, and I, when I was IGL in the circle, I was always looking like, okay, kyxsan is kind of my like a mentor. It's
Yeah.
weird because we were teaching him a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but now he kind of like is pulling me in that situation where his like fingerprint or something like that on that IGL role
Yeah.
really left a mark on me.
Right. Yeah. It's a weird dynamic. So I get exactly what you mean because you are teaching him a lot of stuff because he couldn't know that because he was a lot more inexperienced than you at the time, right? And he still is. It's just when you see the potential and the way of thinking of someone, you're like, I want that mindset. I want to be reacting emotionally to the same way that this guy is. But could you try and elaborate a little bit on the things that impressed you the most, maybe during the trial, and maybe after that? You say you really like his vision of the game and how he handles himself and the team and how he demands authority when needed. Could you elaborate and maybe
Yeah.
give some examples of all of that?
So first of all, I have to think that I think he was actually not that great of a captain outside of the server, but he was great on the server.
Okay.
Okay, when we were actually like having to problem solve in the heat of the moment,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc. He was very good at realizing when to give respect to the opponents, when to not give them respect, when to when to switch up the pace,
Mm-hmm.
when to say screw the playbook, or I mean screw the game plan, we have to do something because it's not going to work against them, right? He was like very, I would say, he had like quick thinking in a way where he was solving the problem as they were happening, not after they happened. And
Okay.
he was like it's great quality to have, but at the same time I think he had in his mind a lot of avenues like what could go wrong, and he was prepared for a lot of them. And that's something that I haven't seen in my previous IGLs in previous teams, so
Okay.
that's why this kind of stuck with me. um, Overall, he's also very aggressive when he needs to be. Like when his team is missing something, like an aggressive player having a bad game, he's gonna go and do that,
Okay.
and he's gonna be aggressive. If he would have an Oper that is having a bad game, he would pick up a Nob and he would be good at it. Like he's so
Hopefully it
flexible.
doesn't
Like
happen in
it's
Falcons.
no, it does. It's not gonna happen with Monte, I swear. But you know, like he's able to fill the gap. He's
Yeah.
so comfortable with everything, and it's admirable.
Okay. We're gonna keep moving forward. Now, one of your ex teammates, JL, did announce that he's taken a little bit of a break between 3 and 6 months a couple days ago, and he's stepping down from Navi. And this is, I guess, it aligns with a topic that I wanted to ask your opinion on. How do you deal with stress at tier one, and what is your thought on people getting more and more burned out and maybe not being able to deal uh, with making the sacrifices necessary to stay on the highest level for a longer period of time?
I saw this question before you asked me this,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about how to answer this because I wasn't part of a tier one in a long, long time,
Yeah.
okay? But I will say, and I might be completely wrong here, but I honestly think this. Hopefully, some tier one player will comment and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think being a tier two player is more stressful than tier one
Okay.
because I
Financial
feel like
reasons
the
or
amount of one thing could be financial,
mm.
but most of the thing I feel like schedule for tier two is actually more brutal in a way.
Okay.
Not necessarily for travel
Mm-hmm.
perspective, but for the amount of official games that you have to play. There's literally sometimes not even a single practice day in 2 weeks. Like you legit don't have time to practice because you have to perform in two best of threes each
Mm-hmm.
day. And you know, when you're traveling for tournaments, you have some travel days where you can chill. You have media days where you can chill. Obviously, you practice on top of that. But I feel like practice and even during the season, you see a lot of pro players. They go on like a small vacation after a tournament, you know. But especially now, I feel like some teams didn't even have a player break. Like I saw them constantly playing on HLTV 2, 3 games a day.
Yeah.
And they were doing that the whole season. And now the second season is coming up and they will do that for the whole year. Like I would be mentally trained. Like I would mentally check out of not realizing basically if this game even matters, right? I don't even sometimes I don't even know which tournament I'm playing. And it's that kind of like mentally training for
Yeah.
you to constantly perform. So maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like tier one stress and the reason why Jill went out, I completely understand it. Like I was thinking about doing a lot, the same
Mm-hmm.
for some time. You know, there were some moments in my career, but I think like this tier two where you're like top 20 on the brink of tier one, that is where you are just if you have to go to a tournament or a LAN, it's not going to be tier one LAN where everything is taken care of. It's going to be probably some lands where there are problems. You have to
Yeah.
travel weirdly, and it's a weird part of the world as well, and it's maybe unannounced for a long period. You're unsure if you're gonna get invited, and then everything is kind of like in a limbo where you can't plan long term. That is adding another stress factor there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're tier one, if you're Vitality, I'm pretty sure you can set the whole calendar for the whole year. You know you're gonna get invited to these events. You're gonna accept those, decline those. You can bootcamp now. You can practice now,
Yeah.
etc. You have everything is kind of ready for Vitality. For team outside top 20, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, this is a really weird one because as you were saying, a lot of people don't realize that there is still is up to this date tournaments with above $300,000 prize pools that don't even allow players to practice between officials. Right, you just go
Right?
on a LAN and
You don't have
you just
practice.
play the
Yeah,
officials and you can't even puck, you can't do anything. You just go play official, play another official the other day, and that's it. And then the other time you just get what 15 minutes, 20 minutes to warm up before the official starts, which is
it's really like that sometimes on some lands and technical issues. When you're at the ESL event or Blast event,
mm,
there's no technical issues anymore. Like they have like a backup PCs, backup power generators, whatever it is. But you go on lands somewhere where there's no experience, people barely speak English, and there's hospitality problems.
yeah.
There's one problem, it could delay for 5 hours, and then you are expected to perform, and let alone you have to do two
Mm,
best of threes a day. It's draining, and I wish people would speak more about it, honestly, how draining it is, because people will be just, oh, we're out of the tournament and that's about it. But sometimes people are not like explaining it enough. And
right.
sometimes even tournament organizers actually tell you not to tweet bad things about it. But that's another topic that we could save for later.
I think because we will try and wrap this up in around 20 minutes because you did ask me to try and keep it up to 70 minutes. But have you ever thought, because you are a really blunt guy and you are really open, and I think a lot of the community appreciates the content that you are doing on YouTube, where for example like 2 years ago or whatever, you did a video about your annual revenue, how much money you've made out of stickers, out of salaries and stuff like that. You've been really open with talking about the things that you don't like or sharing some details from behind the curtains. Do you ever think about the fact that maybe this bluntness has stopped you in a way in developing as a player? And do you feel like sometimes it's built up pressure within a team or in the way that you communicate with an organization? Do you feel like sometimes this has actually harmed you in a way?
If it did harm me, I wouldn't like notice it. I think the
Mm,
good things that happened because of my content and the way I am outweighs heavily the bad things that
okay.
could have happened. And I also always, whenever I share these kind of things, I always discuss with my teammates. Whenever I was sharing voice comms or something like that, I share them beforehand. I ask if I spoke with editors, like this guy said fuck 3 times during the round. Like let's edit it out
Mm,
because it looks like that guy is only swearing because it was just in the heat of the moment. So I'm always making sure that I paint my teammates in like PR
yeah.
good
You
version.
put them in the best light
It's
possible.
not necessarily. It's
Okay.
authentic. It's still authentic.
Mm,
It's not like I'm faking something,
right.
but at the same time, I don't do something that could damage them in the future. Another thing would be that I always speak to my organization and my agent about green lighting stuff like, can I share this? Can I not share this? If not, can I like package it in a way which wouldn't be so like
You're giving us
revealing,
the
but at the same
idea, but you're
yes,
painting the picture, but without too much detail.
exactly. So all
Okay.
these things they matter to me because I don't want to burn any bridges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if someone says no, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I will try to find a way around it. And if there's no way, I will just scrap the video or scrap the idea. I'm not gonna talk about it. It's fine. It happened to my content a lot of times. So
Mm,
my bluntness, I feel like it's like my personality. Like as I said a million times on my YouTube channel. I'm doing a content I wish I had found 10 years ago when I was
right.
younger. I didn't know anything about CS. Whenever I found a voice comms videos from the official game, I treated that video as a gold mine.
Yeah.
Right now, I would love to give that to other players. Obviously, voice comms are now popular, but some other things are still not popular, like discussing discussing like contractual things or negotiations, and maybe how to improve as a player, what the daily structure is, daily routines, warm up
Mm.
routines, aim practices, all these kind of things. I wish I would have it 10 years ago. Right now, I'm providing it, and I think it's helping a lot of people.
How open should players and organizations be to the public, in your opinion? And is esports, and in particular professional Counter Strike, following the direction of traditional sports in that sense, where everything is a lot more transparent? It seems like.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I, you know, it's weird
Mm.
because at some point, I also think that if you're a new team, new organization coming into the space right now, I would appreciate the honesty. Like you have to differentiate yourself from the usual organizations right now, and by being public about contractual things could be one way to instantly gain fans, to be
Hmm.
transparent as possible. So
Right.
that's one thing. But team like Vitality or Falcons or G2, what would they gain from being public about their
Right.
things? Like probably nothing.
Okay.
I'm looking at the POV of a fan and
Hmm.
a professional player and like someone within the community. I would love to know these details, but at the same time, I don't know how it looks from organization's POV.
Okay.
Is it damaging? Is it harming? Is it even worth sharing this information? And
Okay.
one time, Cloud9 did it, and it backfired.
Mm.
But you don't need to reveal the salaries of the players. You can maybe reveal a yearly budget, and then how that yearly budget was spent. That could be an interesting topic that no one would be like affected by. How much did teams spend for boot camps? How much did
Mm.
they spend for even stuff like food at the tournaments?
Okay.
I would that's for me that's a piece of information that would be actually kind of like, I'm interested in that. I
You're
know
gonna get
it's
to
very
see. You're
niche.
gonna get to check out all the bills from the Korean barbecues.
I mean, if that's happening, like, sure, sign me up. I wonder how to push this narrative forward
Right.
to be transparent without it being too damaging to the org. I think there's an
Okay.
angle. I don't know how to find it because I don't own an org.
Right.
I think there is one.
Okay, we keep growing and going in that direction, I guess. The next thing I wanna ask you about briefly is because you did join Monte for a little while. That was after Apex, obviously. You played with K, Hades, D, and Krasno. So how did good old STYKO find himself accompanied by four Polish guys on Monte, and why the things didn't work out, in your opinion?
So there's a little correction here.
Okay.
I joined Monte when it was Haji, Voro,
Oh
Demq, and
yes,
Krasnal.
yes, and then the
And I
changes
went
happened, and all the
there.
Poles came in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then I was just supposed to play with them couple of tournaments to keep like the ranking, like the core would naturally flow into their new team. Because if I would disagree, they would have to start with 0 points on HLTV rating.
Mm-hmm.
But I agreed to them like I'm still contracted with Monte. I will play with you guys for I don't know 10 games or whatever it was or
Mm-hmm.
5 games, and that was a Polish core, and I replaced K in that, so it was Hades, Diha, Demq, and Krasnal. Demq was
Yeah.
learning Polish, and I played with them 5 or a couple of games. I don't really remember how much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was naturally going out because I was officially on the bench. I was also undergoing a surgery, minor surgery, back in the summer,
Yeah.
and then I took some talent work as an analyst at Blast events.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, it was just me hopping from a team to another one, kind of helping them out because they needed someone urgently,
Sure.
and I was available.
Okay. And how did the next couple of months feel like for you? Because you did take a little bit of a break before, as you pointed out. You did a couple of things. You went through the surgery. You were an analyst for Blast, and then you didn't play for around half a year, and then you started things with Inner Circle at the start of this year. So how did that period of time feel like from your perspective? And starting 2025 was becoming an in-game leader something that was your go-to for the next chapter in your career? How did you land on Inner Circle?
So that half a year where I was without the team was actually very, very, very weird. I was focusing on my content a lot.
Yeah.
I was also offering like individual coaching. I was streaming a lot, and it was honestly. I was also doing these blast events in Denmark and Singapore, and those were the times where I had a lot of fun, honestly, doing that. I made pretty decent money as
Mm-hmm.
well, and I was stress free. I had no stress at all. Like me, who I usually sleep like 9 hours a day,
Okay.
like every night. It was to function properly. I have
Right.
I need a lot of sleep. When I was without the team and I had no events or practice or any stress on my shoulders, I was sleeping for like 6. I woke up and I was fully ready to have my day. Like I'm so not used to not be
Mm.
on the team and not live under the stress that it feels weird for me. It was fun, but at the same time, as I said before, being on a team is like my priority, and I set my goal to like a new challenge to become an IGL. And that's why when Inner Circle offer came and I get the chance to like kind of build a lineup as well, I took it, and it was an adventure. It was full of ups and downs, and mostly downs.
Mm.
And I'm grateful for the experience, but I feel still like I'm I would like to IGL. I would keep doing it. It was a very fun experience despite us not having results. I think it's growing me as a person as well. So I'm looking at the long term, like egoistical point of
Sure.
view. I think I'm improving as a person in that regard. So I would love to keep doing that. But if it doesn't, maybe I go back as a previous year into content part, and I would have fun there and no stress.
What was the most? What were the things, the most valuable things that you were able to learn about yourself in those couple months as an in-game leader?
Mm, that's a good question. About myself, I learned that um,
It
I'm
could be
actually pretty.
interpreted from a personal point of view. It could be what type of an in-game leader I want to be as well.
Yeah, so I would love to, you know, I understood what I want in a team. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to have like kind of quite similar mindset when it comes to hard work and having routines as a team.
Okay.
It was very, very hard to get that on the same page in the circle. I have to be honest. I would love to push it for in that team more to have some kind of more activities as a team. I would say, even though we're online, but we were. I think honestly we just didn't click that much as we had fun and we had good vibes, but we didn't spend too much time outside of practice.
Okay.
And I I think it has the reason behind it is as well that again we didn't trial anyone. We just picked 5 players that were available during that off season, and we started playing, and we were hoping for it to click. We had no VRS points at all, so uh, the teams that started in the exactly same positions as us during the season, they made like 4, 5, 6 roster changes. They did it like this,
Yeah.
and something didn't work. They changed the player, but we were sticking through, and I think that was also a mistake. When I saw some red flags in some of my teammates, I think we should have acted sooner, even though they had a contract. I don't know from business POV how it would affect the team or anything like that, but I should have been more demanding of the players as well. That's what I learned. I shouldn't let them chill. I don't want to like go around with a whip and make sure that everyone is doing their own job. But I feel like if you're a hardworking person, and I usually am, I don't want to get dragged down on a level of non-hardworking players.
Yeah. You
That's why
want it
I
to be
want
the
to
other way
keep that.
around.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
want it to be. I want to set a standard that everyone is chasing. Not everyone is like ignoring.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
that's a couple of things that I'm taking from top of my head. Obviously,
Yeah.
I learned actually I'm pretty good with people. I'm actually able to communicate with anyone on like one-on-one level talks and come to a good conclusions. So I feel like I developed there a lot. I was surprised in myself there, and at the same time, I feel like when it comes to in-game leading and in-game calls, I was sometimes too set. I was having too many of a set calls and set ideas, and we were unable to kind of like blitz things out on the as a kind of like a freestyle round in the
Mm-hmm.
default where someone has to organize something. So we were kind of lacking in that regard, and I think I should be the one stepping up on that.
Okay. So to round it out, we're gonna do the last 2 or 3 questions as a
Sure.
quick fire type of thing.
Okay.
So what is your strongest quality as an in-game leader?
Um, Okay. 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 We
We're
cannot
doing this
go as
quick.
fast.
We're doing it quick
Yeah.
fire. We're doing it quick fire. We're not going for the essay type of answer.
Yeah. Can I actually think about the answer? I will quick fire the answer. It
Okay.
will be just 1 or 2 words, but I have the biggest quality.
You can do best quality. Yeah, you can do 1 or 2 sentences as well. It's just as long as we keep it quick.
Um,
What do
I
you feel
think
like you
I'm
managed
always
well?
yeah. Okay. I think I'm always when we set a focus point as a team, I'm having 100% my sight on that focus point.
Okay, you're determined.
I don't yeah, okay, that's the word probably. I don't
Okay.
like go around and try different things.
Right.
When we have a focus point, that's where we are aiming, and we're doing that until we fix it.
Okay, what is the main thing that you want to improve on?
Pushing my own opinion more.
Okay, we're keeping it going. What is your regime right now? What is the micro that you're focusing on the most training? Because you have talked a lot about this online. So what is the routine looking like right now? What are you focusing on?
Uh, right now, the focus is on keeping individual level up.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play Counter Strike without a team. For my side, I'm not a great puck player,
Yeah.
and I want to learn how to carry pucks because that can carry myself into like being a stronger player in the
Mm-hmm.
team, and I don't have to do those bitch roles,
Okay.
and I can actually be like kyxsan, like
Yeah.
aggressive player is having a tough game, I can fill in and be that aggressive player. So more flexible in that regard. That's my
Between
main goal.
between 1 and 3 qualities that each top level win game leader should have. It could be just one. The most important.
The most important. I would love to be have a courage as an in-game leader. I think is the
Okay.
most important thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of important things, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's one.
No. This is the point of it, right? Is the quick fire. We can't go on a tangent.
Courage. Yeah.
We can't give the good answer, right? We need to just shoot straight. And lastly, what does the future look like? What are the aspirations and goals looking like for you right now?
Developing my brand in a content space.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of different ideas which I couldn't uh, manage during my time while on the team due to time restraints.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, having some analytical gigs, I would love to have that because
Okay.
that was also fun. And that all gets pushed aside as soon as the good offer comes from a proper team, because I'm looking back to get back on the server. So that's my plan for upcoming month, and something will click probably from that.
Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a great conversation. To everyone watching, make sure you go and check out STYKO's YouTube channel. Is going to be down below. He's posting really good content right there. So make sure you go and click the subscribe button there as well. And if you are doing that, might as well subscribe to my channel as well. It's a quick little bonus. But yeah, thank you very much for this pleasant conversation. It's been a blast, and I wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you, Ted. Having a good time as well on these podcasts. So keep it up, and looking forward to meet you again.
Thank you very much. See you next one, guys. Bye bye.